Hey there, this is Beth, your sweet Herbin Livin lady, helping you on your journey of healing by introducing you to some amazing people on this series that I've titled The Healer's Journey. Now, if you're listening to this and you've listened to any of our podcasts before, you know that I've named this The Healer's Journey, but even my guest today will say, I'm not the healer. She helps facilitate healing, but she's not the one who brings healing. We give all credit, honor, and glory to God for His healing and for creating our bodies in such a way that they do heal when we apply the things that we need to naturally. So I'm really excited today to have Tamara Krouse with me. Hello, Tamara. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good, Miss Beth. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad you're here. Let me just share a little bit of your journey, who you are, as we get started. Tamara Krouse is a board-certified traditional naturopath offering nutritional health services using traditional naturopathic methods, whole body cleansing, nutritional therapies, bioenergetic frequency scans, healing frequency generation, and Bach flower consultations. She has provided health coaching services since 2016 and has recently acquired board certification through the American Natural Wellness Practitioners Association. Congratulations on that. That's a big step. Tamara works closely with clients who have received a variety of diagnoses from medical professionals and supports them in their healing journey by offering tailored nutritional therapies curated through nutritional kinesiology, weekly coaching support, emotional and spiritual support, and educational conferences and webinars. All services are available virtually as well as in person. That's cool because that's a question I always ask. And Tamara currently runs her quickly evolving practice out of a beautiful brick-and-mortar location on Main Street in Parsons, Kansas, alongside her 3 young homeschooled children and her very supportive husband, Robert.
Yeah.
So welcome, Tamara,
Yeah,
again. I'm so
thank you.
glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've accomplished quite a lot.
I have. It's been quite a journey.
Well, that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about your journey. You and I met through Trinity School of Natural Health, and that's where I know you from. And we're also, friends on Facebook. Haven't met you in person yet. Maybe that'll happen one day. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But just tell me about your journey. What got you started looking into the natural health field?
That's a great story. And this is what I actually share in my orientation classes here, because I think that as a practitioner, our story is so valuable to new clients or clients that we're working with and people in the community. We often don't just stumble into this field. We're either already raised up in it or there was something that brought us to it. There's
Right.
it's because it was something that really touched our hearts to bring us here. And for me, that journey started with my now 11-year-old daughter back in 2014.
Okay, so she was basically a baby still, a toddler.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, she would have just been being born.
Oh,
She was born 10 pounds. And I was never so grateful to have a big baby, but she continued to be 10 pounds up until she was 4 months old and then was labeled failure to thrive. But I was the perfect medical mom to that point, taking my babies to all of the wellness visits. We did all of the flu shots during pregnancy because we just didn't know the things that I know today.
right.
Just trusted my medical professionals to direct me in the things that I needed to be doing. And we ended up discovering through the process that my daughter had developed an anaphylactic response to eggs. And
Oh,
as a result of vaccination. And as we were continuing through the discovery process of why is she not gaining weight? How is she not holding weight? Why is she sick all of the time? I'm losing insurance. Things are just becoming really impossible to travel across town, to get her weight checked every other day. It was quite the painstaking process. She's just sick, just miserable, not sleeping, and just not getting well. And I'm, because we're losing insurance, part of the reason why we're losing insurance is my husband's story. He's developing rheumatoid arthritis at the same time, debilitating, starting to curl, the whole 9 yards. Miss Beth, it
Oh
was a
my
rough
goodness.
season. It was a rough season.
Yeah,
So he's commissions
it was.
only, so the money is gone. The insurance is gone. He's laid out on the couch. I've got this sick and screaming, unhealthy, puking baby in my arms labeled failure to thrive. And chaos is just ensuing everywhere. Bills, eviction notices, all the things.
Oh my gosh,
All the
Tamara.
things. It was crazy. And this is the first time that I had a very spiritual experience, because I'm sitting there in the midst of all of this and just loud chaos. It's like a whirlwind of like a tornado going around my head, right? All this noise and what ifs and what are we going to do? And how am I going to, and how do I go get a job when he can't? It was just noise, just sheer noise in my head. And I'm just sitting on the couch.
It sounds like a really impossible situation. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here listening to it going, financial issues, the baby issues, the husband, health issues. And I'm going, personally, when I've been in that situation, it affects you. It affects you as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all these thoughts are swirling around your head like a tornado going around.
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah. And we're all in the living room, husband's on the couch, baby's in my arms, and I'm just, she's screaming and I'm crying and I'm literally calling out to our creator. What am I going to do? What do we need to do? And I'm just bawling. And all of a sudden, it was like I was in the middle of this storm, and I can visualize and hear that all of the noise just, went to the outsides of the peripheral. You could still see it going around, but it was quiet for the first time, and I don't even know how long, Miss Beth. And all I heard was, just stop. And of course, in my fury, I'm like, what do I? But I knew before I even finished the question what I needed to do. It literally meant to stop doing all the things that we were doing. We were, we were in fear. We were in stress. We were in chaos.
Right.
We were in, doing all of this stuff. And it just was time to stop. And so for the first time, I was able to take a deep breath and just find that dependence and reliance on our Heavenly Father to be able to figure out what to do next. Within an hour, I've got a phone call from a friend of ours who says, look, there's this chiropractor I need you to go talk to. You need to go see her. And I'm like, we don't do chiropractors. No, we don't do that in my family. She's like, look, I'm paying for it. It's free. You need to go. She doesn't need to manipulate anybody. Just go talk to her.
Okay.
So we go and we have this conversation with her, and she's asking me a series of very simple questions. Did you vaccinate your baby? I said, well, yeah, of course. Because, come on. She says, okay, well, did you do the Hep B vaccine? I said, oh, yes. She says, okay, well, do you have Hep B? I go, no. She says, well, can I ask why then you went ahead and got the vaccine? Well, does your baby have Hep B by some brand? Well, no. She says, okay, well, can I ask again why you consider doing the Hep B? Do you know what Hep B is for? I said, well, no. She says, well, it's, generally a sexually transmitted disease. Do you expect then that your baby, by the time the vaccine would not be effective anymore, at about 10 or 11 years old, that she's going to be sexually active or put in a situation where she could be contracting that? And I said, no, I would hope not. And she says, oh, well, then can I ask again, what made you decide to get the Hep B vaccine for your baby? And I didn't have an answer for her.
Yeah.
Because I was the perfect medical mom, right? Because that's just what you do. You just go to the doctor and you just do the shots and you just do the things. So she just very eloquently and very patiently walked me through this. And she says, well, can I just encourage you maybe before you continue vaccinating that you do a little bit more research? It's okay to just hold tight for a minute. I'm not telling you to not do it. I'm just telling you to consider the next series before you get involved. I think there may be a connection here.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, well, let me tell you about an amazing model she just offered me as an opportunity to educate other people too, right?
Yes. And
so through the process, we ended up getting, all this other testing to figure out what was going on. And long story short, we got her connected with goat's milk because there's egg and absolutely every type of formula was out there. So I figured out this anaphylactic response is eggs. But pretty much what did it for me, in as far as her story goes, is that the allergist, after we determined what was going on, said that when we continue to vaccinate her, that I need to make sure that I bring her back to her office or take her to the emergency room so that when she has an anaphylactic response, we can administer
Whoa.
life-saving measures. And I looked at the allergist and I
Whoa.
thought, why would I put my child through that again? Well, you need to vaccinate, don't you? And I said, well,
Do I?
I'm not so certain that I do, because I've already been encouraged to start researching, right? So that pretty much did it for me. And I went home and was like, how do I heal my family? How do I do this without them? Because now still don't have insurance, right? We still don't have any money. My husband's still laid out on the couch. But
Oh my
now we have
goodness.
answers. And so we
Yeah.
just started turning to all things food, because that was all we could afford. And wouldn't
Yeah.
you know, food is what healed my family. So
Wow.
from that point, I went into Dr. Joshua Axe's health coaching certification course. And through all of the things, they're both considered autoimmune conditions. So every time I'm looking at anaphylaxis, rheumatoid arthritis is coming up. I can't feed this, 4 and 6, 8-month-old baby half the foods and things that we need to, but I'm giving it to my husband. And wouldn't you know that within 45 days, that man is back up and down roofs and ladders and shingles and back to work doing the thing. Like, I'm sold. I'm
Because
sold.
of food.
Yeah.
Because of food.
Yeah.
That's the only change you made
That was
was
it.
food.
That was it.
No supplements, no homeopathics,
Nope.
just food.
Just food. Couldn't afford them. All we could do was get our food.
Yeah, yeah. But, that's actually pretty wonderful and amazing, because a lot of times when I work with my clients, it's like, I make recommendations for supplements and herbals and things like that. But I'm always going, it's the food. If you can do it with food.
Yep.
And here you are, a living testimony of your husband laid out on the couch, and now he's climbing ladders again.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he should have never been able to do that again.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You're so right.
Wow. So Tamara, that's pretty incredible. Okay, so you started with doing some research, changing food, getting the eggs out of your daughter's diet. What else happened after that?
Oh my goodness. There's always
What
something, isn't there?
What next? Yes, what happened?
So I continued my certification, tried to build a health coaching business, but it wasn't the time. It just really wasn't the time. But I worked with friends and family and kind of dabbled and continued doing my own education, became the Google mom, because I just wasn't going to go back to what we already knew. And we ended up moving to a farm, and we had these big ideas that we were going to do all these classes, and that ended up kind of falling by the wayside. But through that process, though, my now 11-year-old daughter really did become fully healed from the anaphylaxis. As best as we can tell, she doesn't even have any autoimmune markers at this point. But obviously we don't really go to a whole lot of practitioners on the other side to figure that out. So
can she have eggs now? Is that something that she can? Oh, so she can have them without fearing for her life. Oh, that's awesome.
Probably one of the healthiest in the house.
Yay.
I know.
The young. Oh my goodness. That's so great. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's good. So from that point, we were still living in the Colorado area. Things kind of got all funky and shady with 2020. And the state that I was living in decided they were going to try to enforce some pretty heavy mandates. And there's, a whole other story I could get into with fighting Capitol Hill on vaccines and all the things. But long story short there is that we just decided I couldn't risk being there, because you and I both know, even though I got her system cleaned up, if they would have ended up encouraging that we mandate vaccination, and that was what they went through with, that we could be looking at the same story or worse. Really any of our family members, because there's one, we could all be susceptible. And the technology just wasn't, the technology that they were doing wasn't going to be conducive. There wasn't enough information for us to make the best decisions. And so we decided to leave, and we went to a very red state to try to avoid it as much as possible. And I decided that's it. I've had it. I'm going back to school. I need to figure out how to be different in the world that we are coming into. People need to know that there's an option to the
Right.
medical industry that's out there. And the medical model is great for some people, and that's okay, but it's no longer for me. It can't be for my
Mm-hmm.
family. And how do I help my family now start to live in a culture and a society that's shifting so dramatically and becoming so
Mm-hmm.
dependent on a lifestyle that just doesn't fit us? So I started going to Trinity, decided
Mm-hmm.
I was going to get me a virtual health coach or a virtual naturopath. And so I could figure out how to do, find a model that works. What do I like about this model? How do I implement some of these things working with my own clients? Continued on through school, even just through the first couple of months in school, we found out through that naturopath that I had rogue cells in my rectum, large intestine, and small intestine.
Now, what does that mean? If you're for our audience who's going, okay, rogue cells, that doesn't sound good.
It's
What did that
not,
mean?
it's not. So it started off kind of as a kidney and bladder infection that kind of tipped us off. And in fact, another Trinity student used me as their practicum case.
Okay, yeah,
And
uh-huh.
so from there, with that information and started working with the other naturopath, we ended up using bioresonance feedback and the big words that are used, and there are often medical terms, but the system came back saying carcinoma.
Oh,
And so obviously we don't operate in those big words, and I refused to own such a big diagnosis. And so we just called them rogue cells because it's totally
gotcha.
overcomable. So we
Yes, gotcha.
we minimized what we were looking at, and
Mhm.
I continued on through my education, even with the battle. Talk about another trying time, because I used the Gerson method to resolve the health condition that my body had come into.
Now, what is the Gerson method?
The Gerson method is a completely vegan, largely juicing and coffee enema lifestyle with minimal supplementation to overcome many,
Hmm.
many health conditions, but
Hmm.
most notably cancer. They have
Hmm.
two facilities, one in Mexico and one in Bolivia, that is, uh, I would say state of the art, but they should be world renowned. They do not get enough
Right.
credit for the work that they do.
Now, did you go there or did you just,
No, nope.
okay.
I got their book that teaches you how to
Ah,
do it all on your own.
okay.
Highly recommend. Um, and they give you the juicing schedule, the coffee enema schedule. They tell you what supplements to take. They give you recipes. They give you all of the things. And there's
Wow.
amazing groups on Facebook
Hmm.
that you can tap into where you've got other people
Hmm.
who are doing it. And you and I both know that the best way to approach something is with a peer. And so that's
Yeah.
one of the most valuable things that I think that we offer our clients, is the opportunity to walk through their health journey with them. Most of us have a health
Hmm.
story that we're coming alongside them with. We know the
Yes.
struggles, right?
Yep.
We can help them separate their issues and their problems with the program and not the practitioner. Because oftentimes people get mad at me. Oh, don't get mad at me. I'm mad at this with you. This is hard, but we can do this together.
Yes.
But the Gerson method literally saved my life. I'm very
Nice.
convinced of that. That all happened also in 2020 and 2021. January 2021 is when we really dug deep with the resonance machine to figure all this stuff out.
Hmm.
But I wasn't going to go to the emergency rooms in January of 2020. I wasn't going to go get a doctor's. That was just not going to happen. I
Yeah.
lost a lot of respect for a lot of organizations in 2020, but we'll
Hmm.
focus on the medical industry. And if we understand the basic common development of a virus, we knew that slowing the curve made sense. But outside of that, they lost me. They
Mm.
completely lost me. It wasn't from a biblical structure on how we manage outbreaks and disease, right? And it just didn't make sense. And I just couldn't trust that they were going to manage the symptoms that I was going in there with without bringing in additional problems or toxins into the situation.
Now, were you still in Colorado at that point in time, or had you already
We had
moved?
already moved. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We moved to Oklahoma.
But still, the situation overall was just not good for many who are experiencing medical issues. And, I want to stop here again and just say, I know a lot of people in the medical field, my sister, my son, my daughter-in-law,
Yeah.
and we're not against those who are
Nope.
in the medical field. That's not what we're saying.
Nope.
It's the system. And I've even talked to many in the medical field who were, felt upset by their hands being tied, the things that would happen as well to them and through them and all that. So we're not bashing. I don't want to sound like because there's a place for it. We
Yep.
need the medical. But that's where this, what a lot of times we call alternative health, when the truth of the matter is this is original health.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. Using food, using herbs, using natural remedies is actually original medicine.
Yep.
And that's what we're embracing. And a lot of times if we do that, like you're doing, Tamara, you're saying, I got answers and then I used food. I got answers and I used supplements. I used juicing. I used certain things. So, okay.
Yep.
So you're overcoming rogue cell issues. I love that term. And you're studying. So you've got a lot. Now, at that time, you're still got a young child.
Mm-hmm. I do. That was my
What?
now 7-year-old. So
Uh,
I was even had to stop breastfeeding so that I can heal myself. Was going to school. My husband is a truck driver on the road, and he was only home 34 hours a week, and I'm literally washing 25
oh my
pounds of
goodness.
veggies every day. We were just doing about 25 pounds of veggies a day.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
intense. It was intense, but it
Yeah.
was so good, and I learned so much. And Trinity in the education that I was getting there was completely instrumental in helping me overcome everything that my body was
hmm
going through and helping me really realize the relationship that we have with food,
hmm
and the value and the importance of bringing it back down to the very cellular basics of design.
Yes.
And so, as I'm going through the course of my education, we're monitoring through the bioresonance. The frequency obviously was very narrow when we discovered it, so the frequency continued to spread. And I got to be able to watch that term carcinoma reverse all the way back through from lesions all the way. It was amazing to watch the process happen all the way down to gastritis.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And it took about 2.5 years for me to get my
Yeah.
first really good, clean scan.
hmm
And through the process, ended up finding another spot that popped up in my stomach. But for it to see everything move, to watch everything change, and to just keep doing what we were doing was just beautiful, Beth. It was so good. God is so good.
That's amazing. I mean, that's one of those things where, I hear testimonies, I hear stories like this often, and it's true. But when you're actually saying, I have
Yeah,
scans that show, you know, the growth, the dimension, that's pretty cool.
it is
That's
so
actually
awesome.
amazing.
Yep.
All right, so you're getting healed, your husband's doing better, and I empathize with you on this. Now I didn't have to do juicing, but my husband was a truck driver in the movie industry when my 3 kids were young, and he would be gone 6 days a
Yeah.
week. There were several times when if a movie was out of because we're in Georgia, so if it was out of state and he was on the movie, he would be gone for months at a time. He was even in Nova Scotia for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
So I got to visit Nova Scotia. That was really nice.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is as a mom whose husband's gone and dealing with, so I had 3 kids, and while I didn't have an extreme health issue like what you're saying, that's right there, that's tough. Being a mom, and I'm like, I know there are a lot of single moms out there who don't have a husband at all to support them. That's a hard situation. So, but then when you add on to it, we've got health issues we're overcoming. We're having to juice. We're having to do all these things. That's a lot to handle, but you did it.
Yes, ma'am.
You did it, and you overcame. And so that's like a beacon of hope, right? That's just hey, look, if I can do it, other people can do this too.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
tell me what happened next.
So through that course, I continued on with my education. I went through the CNHP, the CHHP there at Trinity, and we ended up moving one more time, and we ended up here in Parsons, Kansas. That's kind of a unique story. This is just where God put us. This was the only place that was available. I don't know how, I don't know why, but this is where we are.
Okay.
And I continued to be well. By the time we got here, I had my last final good scan 2 times in a row. So every 6 months, because I didn't want to babysit it, right? So I had my second clean scan after we had landed here within the first few weeks. And so we just decided, okay, it's time to go back to school and finish up my education. So I enrolled in the CTN course and used that as an opportunity to just start growing and building all the things. Ended up buying a building about the same time. So 2023 is when we ended up buying the building that I'm currently speaking with you from now. And just valuable. I at the same point in time, it was November 2023 that I bought the building, close to the building, and in December of 2023, I got my board certification. By January of 2024, I was off and running.
Yay.
Yeah. So it's been an incredible journey. Still navigating some health things now, of course, but just like any good onion has its layers. And so we just keep going through the process. The primary crux of my practice here is through nutritional kinesiology. I incorporate pH so that we can value absorption, rate of absorption and digestion of the nutrition that we're going to give people. If their pH is so far out of range that they can't even absorb and assimilate the nutrition that we're going to give them, why bother putting them on?
Right. Right. There are a lot of times when I'm like, that's some really expensive pee you've got going on. If you're not digesting and absorbing, there's no point in taking a lot of supplements, at least not the one unless they're helping correct. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned, and it was in your intro when I introduced you, and then you just mentioned it. You said nutritional kinesiology.
Yeah.
So I know what kinesiology is, but that might spark some interest in our viewers. So what do you mean by nutritional kinesiology?
So this is the term coined by one of my mentors, and I've had many in this journey. But him in particular, I was able to go out to Wyoming and work with Dr. Dan Young out of Country Doctor Herbals. And he created, using all of the greats, right? Euland Lepore's work, you name it, Versandal, Brimhall, all of them. He's been doing this 20 plus years in the exam room, and through the process that he's been developing over these courses of his years of service, he developed a great systematic approach to give clients a 72-point health inspection. The education that was provided through Trinity and even through other areas, I've done a couple of other muscle testing, and really nutritional kinesiology is still muscle testing. We tend to be very symptom specific when we're addressing some of the clients' needs, and that's okay. And sometimes, though, what I've learned from a clinical perspective is that there's things that can pop up in other organ systems or other areas that don't necessarily attach to digestion that need that support. So we use a slightly different method in applying the kinesiology, in that we do the 72 different points, and when there's a weakness found in the system, we put all of the box of nutrition, so all of the herbal supplementation, the enzymes, the whatever for the various support categories, all of them go on the person's body. And then we look for which one's providing the integrity again in the arm. Helps assist. It really just brings a very systematic approach. There's no guessing. The client gets to become the best doctor in the room because their body's telling me exactly what it needs, where and why, for how much, for how long, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
It's a very beautiful process.
Yes. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that because, some of our audience are going to be people who know exactly what you're talking about because they're natural wellness practitioners too.
Sure.
But I do have some of my audience; they're in this for themselves. They aren't trained in naturopathy or holistic wellness or health coaching or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when we say things like muscle response testing and kinesiology, it's like, what is that? And it's one of those things where it's a non-invasive way of using the reflex response of the muscles to see what's going on in the body. And that's just a really nutshell version of that. But,
Yeah.
it is one of those amazing, anybody can do it. And to me, it's a very valuable part of my practice. Now, I don't do the nutritional kinesiology as Dr. Dan Young does, but I can see where that would be very helpful, very beneficial for your clients.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay, and I see behind you, I see some beautiful, decor and everything that looks very pleasing. You're in your own building. You started your own practice. Yeah, but you said you're still having some challenges. Anything else going on?
Not necessarily anything serious. A lot of it is just some of the same things that the rest of my clients are dealing with, right? Especially woman of my age, we're going through some hormone changes and weight stagnation and all of those kinds of things. And so I get to lock arms with all of the rest of my clients and say, let's go do this. Let's
Yes.
battle some of the things that our body does together.
Now, is weight stagnation one of your terms?
It is.
I like that term. I mean, it's honestly, that's where, like you said, ladies of our age, and I'm like, yep. And
Mhm.
you can know all the things, but when you hit that age, it's like the body's going, let's act different now than
Yep.
what you were doing before.
Yep.
And it does make a difference. So is that who you help? Who is it that would come to see you?
My normal communication pattern is that I support people with any chronic illness to provide them a nutritional therapies to see them to whole health. So
So any kind of ongoing. Go ahead.
yep, really just anybody. Obviously, the majority of the people who come through have some sort of itis condition because obviously at the root of just about everything is going to be the inflammation. But
Hmm.
I have a little bit of everybody coming through here. I've got children coming through just with, aches and pains and common colds all the way up to, alpha gals and cancers. And I see them all. I see anybody who walks
Yeah.
through my doors. If they've got a belly button, the
Yeah.
joke is if they've got a belly button, we can help them.
Oh, that's good. I like that one. Okay, so you said alpha gals, and for those viewers who may not know that, that is a reaction to usually tick-borne issues where now you can no longer eat meat or beef specifically, but some people they can't eat any kind of meat. Maybe they could eat fish or something like that. But so there are a lot of issues that we deal with today that when I first started in practice, I'd never heard of alpha gal 25 years ago. I didn't even know what that was. In fact, I didn't even know what disease was when I first got started. It just wasn't prevalent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We just didn't have. So, are you seeing issues like that fairly often?
Yes. Especially here in the Midwest area. When we were, I grew up in Colorado and we always heard, oh, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, but everyone
Yeah.
was really fearful about it.
Right.
When we always, oh, you go to the mountains, oh, you got to check for ticks. And we,
Right.
next to ever, ever saw any of it on anybody.
Yeah.
But boy, you come here and, oh, I found a tick on me. It's so funny. And this is where it's prevalent, right? We've got so many
Hmm.
different types of tick-borne illnesses here in the area. Alpha-gal is one of the newest and the biggest right now that's really making a
Hmm.
huge impact on the community, extremely
Hmm.
debilitating. Um,
Hmm.
in so many ways, and just such an interesting component. Here's a tip for some practitioners that I'm seeing clinically, and maybe this isn't, I'm so new at this, maybe this is already common knowledge, but look for mold. Look for mold and
Oh, yeah.
connections with this. And as lots of layers of mold that I'm seeing with these clients. But uh, yes, especially out here. We're in the middle of nothing,
Yeah.
very rural, lots of tick-borne illness out
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I remember as a kid going to visit. So I grew up in Georgia, but my parents were both from North Carolina. So we would go. We always called it going home to North Carolina because that was home to them, right? So it was going home. But when we would go to, one of my grandmothers lived in the mountains, and we would go outside and play. And I mean, I really remember it. Now in Georgia, we would go outside and play all the time as kids too. But when we went to the mountains, it was like we did a tick check every time we came in. It was like tick check, tick check.
Yeah.
Now, and even then, I don't think we had like it was like the Rocky Mountain spotted fever was more of the thought, not Lyme disease, but now Lyme disease is really prevalent. Mold is an issue. You mentioned look at the layers of mold. What do you mean by that? Are you talking about mold in the body, mold in the house, mold? What does that mean?
From a clinical perspective, I try to address all of the above because if they've got
Yeah.
mold exposure in the home, we're going to continue to be exposed to it chronically, really.
Yeah.
Mold, especially in the Midwest with our humidity, it just gets wet, stays wet. And so from the first, warm, wet in spring all the way through the final cold in winter, we are just constantly exposed to this damp humidity. And the way that things are built out here, everything's very open floored on the ground. So you've got, it's just everywhere. So the layers of mold, both environmentally and in our system. A client in particular that helps me really emphasize this is that we find that he has gone through a layer where we were dealing with yeast and candida or yeast and mold, and then parasites would pop up, and then mold would come back, and then heavy metals would show up. And as practitioners, we already know that these things kind of layer as it is anyway, but to just continue to be diligent in watching for some of those components to come up, it's really important. That we address those when the body is asking for them to be addressed. I think that that's one of the benefits that nutritional kinesiology or kinesiology gives a practitioner is that we get to identify how the body wants to heal. We don't have to guess. The body will just tell us what next. This is the next layer.
Yeah.
And healing can still come without it, but it streamlines the process,
Right.
It's just a beautiful way to go about it.
It is beautiful. And when I was writing the module, internal conditions, I think that was for the CHHP, that was because I created a few models for either the CNHP, the CHHP. I did a few, lessons throughout those courses. I don't know if they're still using them now. Just so y'all know, if you're watching, I taught at Trinity for 6.5 years, but I haven't been with them for a couple of years. But I remember doing that internal conditions, and it was just huge. It was a huge undertaking to address all the different things. And like you said, it was like heavy metals could be an issue, and candida and parasites and mold could be an issue. And if you dealt with one, you had to really check to see if you might be dealing with others, because it's like they coexisted or had co-infections around them. And it's like, so I love what you're saying about allowing the body to guide the individual person. And that's what's so beautiful about using naturopathic ways of healing, holistic healing, is because it really is whole body, holistic, looking at that person,
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And while we have protocols and while there's, clinical guidelines and those kinds of things in our world, also the reality of the situation is, and I tell my clients this all of the time, the best doctor in the room is the one laying on my table. You have more of an idea about who you are and what's going on in your body. You've lived with yourself the longest.
Right. You're with yourself 24/7.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And they unlock, we hold our own keys, right, to
Right.
how we need to heal. So.
And that's the thing too, as being a guide. That's one of those things is, like I said, we call the series of what we're covering here with the different guests we're having, the healer's journey. And the truth of the matter, I probably should have called it the healer's guide, the healer guide, the guide who helps you heal, because that's what we're doing. Is like, it's not that we're doing any of the healing ourselves.
Yep.
We're guiding our clients along their journey, and we're helping them listen to their body. And that's one of those things, Tamara, that's one of the things that a lot of people, when they go, they've gone they're getting no results, and they finally come see a natural wellness practitioner, and they're like, "You're actually listening to me." I can sit here and tell you about all of the things that I'm dealing with, and instead of compartmentalizing them and not looking at them, to us, it's a piece of the puzzle to help us to figure things out.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
all right, well, that's cool. So, like I said, when I introduced you, you said that you have a virtual practice and you have a brick and mortar store. So I'm assuming that we're going to be dropping your information in the show notes, and anybody who's seeing you from anywhere, if they go, "Hey, I need to reach out to Tamara," they can just reach out to you. They don't actually have to come see you in person.
Correct. Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Ah, that's cool.
It is, and because I value the hands-on experience so much, I actually travel to some areas nearby so that I can at least once a quarter get a hands-on evaluation with them, so that we can make sure that
Wow.
we're attacking those layers if possible.
Yeah.
I can't go everywhere,
Yeah.
but if I can, I try to.
And if you want to travel to Kansas, you can do that too.
Mhm.
I mean, there is something really to be said. I mean, it's very cool and nice to have the ability to do virtual consulting. That's an amazing gift that a lot of people can get help that they may not have been able to get otherwise beforehand. But if you can, see someone in person, I do prefer that myself, because there's just something about being there in person as well. So, okay, so we're going to put that in the show notes, your contact information, and so anybody who wants to reach out to you for that, they can. What I want to ask you is, if you had just one recommendation to the people who are listening or watching, what's one recommendation that you would make and say for people?
That's a good one. Probably to watch the over medication that we do with ourselves. I think that we over medicate not just with pharmaceuticals, but also nutraceuticals. Just because we
What do you?
see, just because we see an ad online and we're like, oh, methylene blue or whatever, like whatever the thing is. Just because it
Hmm.
sounds like you might need it. Don't just assume that you need it. Talk to a qualified practitioner who can help make sure that that's exactly what your body needs.
Yeah.
We don't tend to do a whole lot of damage with food, but we can create other issues and misbalances in our system by choosing isolates, single blend herbs like just vitamin C or just calciums or just magnesiums, and just to make sure that you've got somebody keeping an eye on you a little bit. It's really important to be
Hmm.
linked with a practitioner. I didn't really realize that in all of my Google Mom years, how valuable it was to be able to have a practitioner that you can reach out to ask some of those questions to, or to get on the table
Yeah.
to find out if you really need it.
Right. And that's true. And that's one of those things where it's worth it, because I have a lot of people who, will ask me, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And on one hand, it's like the supplement or the nutraceutical or whatever it is may be an absolutely fantastic supplement or nutraceutical or whatever it is. But the question is it the most fantastic one for you?
Yeah.
And you can't really answer that question, you know, without getting to know that person's health history, their health status, what they're going through, the foods they're eating now, and things like that. So when we say it's a journey, it really is, and having that guide makes a big difference. Some, like you said, having someone that I could call and ask questions of really makes a big difference. And don't, if you're listening, like, please don't be upset with us when we say, "Hey, let's book a consultation for that," because it's not that we're trying to not answer your question. We're actually honoring each person, saying, you got to dig deeper. You've got to know more than just surface level questions. And that's kind of what you're saying,
Yep, absolutely.
is if you, yeah. That's a really good point. You know, to be wise. Okay. Uh, as we're, wrapping up and everything, are there any other thoughts or points, anything else in your journey that you're going, I need to share this? Any testimonies or anything like that clients? Anything else?
I can't ever go through a conversation without making sure that we always give glory to our Father for our healing ability. I think that as practitioners, it's really important to know that we are not the healer. I really do stand very firm on that, and it is truly my opinion and my belief that we work in collaboration with the Holy Spirit to bring healing to the people that He brings us. But we were all given the gift of the ability to heal. That is a design by nature that He, by His very nature, that He has given us a design for health and healing. And we know that so much, in fact, that He even sent His Son to come and do a healing ministry. And when the Son left, He sent the Spirit and said, hey, here's the helper to do the work while I'm gone with you. And to make sure that we give credit where credit's due. And to be able to recognize that we're working in collaboration, that we are not the healer. We really do have a ministry field here. And what an honor and a joy and a treasure it is to be on it. And I'm grateful for your part in my walk getting here also, Beth. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really, I love teaching, and I love that time when I was, involved so closely with students. That was so cool. Now, for those who are listening, I am going to be shameless and put in a little plug. I do teach iridology. I have a Roots to Results coaching academy where I help business practitioners who are going, hey, I'm in this and I want to grow my business and I need answers, help, structure. So I'm still in the teaching field. I just don't do it with Trinity School any longer. But, there's a great school, great programs. So if you're interested in getting like certification in something like what you did, that's great. But, and I love that you're giving glory to God, giving glory to the Father for how He designed and created us. And it sounds like you make that a part of your business and your consultation practice.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not shy about it at all.
No. And that's awesome. I mean, that's one of those things where we have this beautiful gift from God to share with others. And we want to put our light out on the lampstand, not under a basket, because other people need help. They need that help. So, awesome. Well, thank you, Tamara. It has been so cool to get to know you and to hear your journey, get to know you better and to hear your journey, because there are some things I didn't know that you were going through with your daughter so much, and that all three of you were dealing with things all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, wow.
It's been a crazy ride.
But you're healed, you overcame, and now you're helping others. And that's so awesome. So thank you.
Yeah.
So it's been an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor to be here.
All right. So if you guys are watching or listening, however you're listening to this, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, share this with others. We want to get the word out there that there are people out there like Tamara who are helping others along this journey, getting the answers they need, discovering what's going on in the body so that they have the right answers to what they need to help their bodies heal. So be sure to, like I said, subscribe, like, rate, review, all those good things. And if you do want to reach out to Tamara, again, her information will be in the show notes. Just reach out to her, let her know, that you would like to talk with her to get the help that you need on your healing journey. And again, Tamara, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.